The next morning, Princess Ziriel awoke with a mind full of questions. Her violet eyes reflected the soft glow of Lethra's twin suns. She had spent the night thinking about Lieutenant Aaron's words. Humans were not just different, they were remarkable. They survived danger, built bonds, and thrived through intellect and emotion, rather than through strength or dominance alone, determined to understand more. She summoned Aaron to the palace's observation chamber. The room was circular, with a transparent floor revealing the galaxy below. Stars and planets seemed close enough to touch, yet today, the princess was more interested in the human before her than the wonders outside. "Lieutenant Aaron," she began, her voice calm but curious. "Yesterday, you told me about human bonds, but I want to understand them more. Fully, will you teach me?" Aaron inclined his head politely. "I will, princess. But it is not a lesson you can learn in 1 hour. Understanding humans is a process, and it takes time, patience, and observation." Ziriel smiled faintly. Patience was something her advisors often criticized her for lacking. But with humans, she felt that patience was a gift she could afford. "I have time," she said. "And I want to learn," Aaron nodded. "Then we will start with how humans show care. Humans are social creatures. They communicate constantly not only with words, but with gestures, expressions, and actions. Small things matter. Sharing a meal, helping each other, listening, these are all important in building trust." The princess listened closely, absorbing every detail. She thought about her court, where displays of power and protocol often outweighed emotion. Humans were different. They valued thoughtfulness, empathy, and understanding. "Show me," Ziriel asked softly. "Show me how humans do this." Aaron considered the request. "The best way is through example. I can describe, or I can take you to a human gathering. There you will see humans in action, helping each other, sharing stories, celebrating small victories." Ziriel's eyes gleamed. "Very well. Let us observe." The human envoy had prepared a small cultural demonstration for the princess. They invited her to a common area of the human ship docked near the palace. Aaron led her through corridors of polished metal, filled with gentle lights and the hum of machinery. Inside the chamber, humans laughed, shared food, and talked openly with one another. It was simple, yet alive with warmth. The princess's gaze moved from person to person. She noticed how humans helped each other without hesitation, sharing tools, offering words of encouragement, and even comforting those who seemed troubled. She saw small gestures that would seem insignificant to aliens, but to humans, they were powerful acts of respect and care. Aaron noticed her fascination. "See, princess? Humans are not just strong or intelligent. Their strength comes from cooperation and trust. Each action builds bonds that help them survive and thrive." Ziriel nodded slowly. She observed a human woman guiding a young child to pour a drink without spilling it. A human man offered his seat to an older companion. There was laughter, patience, and a quiet understanding that every individual mattered. "It is remarkable," Ziriel whispered. "Even small acts carry meaning." Aaron smiled. "Yes, and these bonds carry over into more personal connections. When humans choose partners, they do so with understanding and care. They value companionship, communication, and respect." Ziriel's fingers tapped lightly against the railing of the observation deck. "So, the bond you spoke of is built long before the physical connection?" "Exactly," Aaron replied. "Humans invest time, emotion, and trust. They form connections in thought and heart before they ever act physically. That is what makes their bonds strong." The princess leaned back, absorbing the lesson. She had expected a species to rely on instinct, hierarchy, or convenience. Humans relied on choice, respect, and understanding. She realized that their strength was not in raw power, but in their capacity to care and cooperate. Aaron continued, "Humans also learn from mistakes. They forgive, adapt, and try again. Even in conflict, humans often seek understanding rather than dominance. Their adaptability is part of why your people find them unusual. They are unpredictable in the best ways. Ziriel's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. They survive because they are clever, and because they care for each other. Not because they are strongest, correct, Aaron said. Humans survive and thrive because of intellect, courage, and empathy. Their bonds, personal and social, give them an advantage that no weapon alone could achieve.
How were the princess observed?
She asked questions, sometimes challenging Aaron gently, other times simply seeking clarity. Aaron answered with patience and honesty. He shared stories of humans facing harsh planets, extreme environments, and dangerous creatures. Each story highlighted human resilience, ingenuity, and cooperation. You speak of danger often, Ziriel said finally. Are humans fearless? Aaron shook his head. No. Humans feel fear, just like any other species. But they act, despite fear. They work together, think strategically, and support one another. Courage is not the absence of fear, is acting responsibly in spite of it. The princess's mind reeled. Humans were not invincible. They did not have overwhelming strength or advanced technology compared to all other species. Yet their survival, their adaptability, and their bonds made them extraordinary. As the day passed, Ziriel began to see a pattern. Humans combined intellect, emotion, and courage. They were unpredictable in ways that allowed them to survive where others might fail. They valued connection, respect, and understanding. And all of this stemmed from the bonds they formed, from the choices they made, from the trust they shared. By evening, the princess was no longer the aloof observer she had been the day before. She walked beside Aaron, asking questions not only about bonding but about human art, stories, and celebrations. Each answer revealed more about human culture, showing her that humans were not just biologically unique. They were culturally and morally remarkable. Aaron noticed her genuine fascination. Princess, it seems you are beginning to understand why humans are different. Their strength comes from thought, emotion, and cooperation, not just physical ability. It is a combination that is rare across the galaxy. Ziriel nodded. She looked out at the stars, thinking of the countless species she had studied. Humans were small in number, fragile in appearance, and yet their spirit, intelligence, and empathy made them extraordinary. Lieutenant Aaron, she said softly, I had assumed humans were simple, perhaps clever in certain ways, yes, but simple. I was wrong. You are remarkable, all of you. Aaron inclined his head humbly. Humans are not perfect, princess, but we try. And sometimes trying is enough to survive, thrive, and inspire others. The princess paused, reflecting on his words. For the first time in her life, she felt admiration for another species, not for their power, but for their heart and mind. She realized that humans could teach her people much more than she had imagined. Their methods, their emotions, and their choices were lessons in adaptability, courage, and respect. As the human envoy prepared to depart for the night, Ziriel lingered on the observation deck. She stared at the stars, thinking about the humans she had watched, the lessons she had learned. And the one human who had patiently guided her through these discoveries, Aaron turned to her. Princess, understanding humans takes time. You are already asking questions and observing carefully. That is the first step. True understanding comes from experience and reflection. Ziriel's lips curved in a rare, soft smile. I will reflect, Lieutenant Aaron, and perhaps I will learn even more than I imagined. Your species. It is unlike any I have known. Aaron nodded, sensing her sincerity. That is the truth, princess. Humans are not perfect, but they are remarkable. And sometimes their greatest strength is simply being themselves. As the humans left the observation chamber, Ziriel remained standing, her mind alive with thought. She had begun to understand human bonds, their courage, and their intelligence. But more than that, she had begun to feel something new, curiosity mixed with admiration. For the first time, the princess considered that humans were not merely a species to study, they were beings to understand. to respect, and perhaps even to emulate in ways her people had never considered. The bond she had begun with Aaron was more than conversation. It was a bridge between two worlds, built on curiosity, honesty, and the beginnings of trust. And in the quiet of the observation chamber, Princess Ziriel whispered to herself, "Humans, you are more remarkable than I ever imagined." With that thought, she turned toward the palace, ready to carry her lessons forward, not just for herself, but for her people. She had learned that strength could take many forms in that one small species. The humans had discovered a power that no weapon, no hierarchy, and no force could ever match: the power of connection, choice, and heart. The palace of Lethra was quiet as Princess Ziriel walked through the corridors. The lessons from Lieutenant Aaron had stayed with her for days. She could not stop thinking about humans, their courage, their intelligence, their care for each other, their emotional strength. But more than that, she could not stop thinking about the human who had opened her eyes. Aaron, the court whispered behind her back. Advisors were worried that the princess's fascination with humans was affecting her focus. "She spends too much time with that human envoy," one council member whispered. "It is not appropriate for a princess to be so influenced." Ziriel ignored the murmurs. She had learned something more important than protocol. Understanding and respect were more powerful than fear or tradition. Humans taught lessons that her court had never known. "I want the humans to teach more," she said to her head advisor. "Invite them to share their stories, their art, their knowledge. I want my court to see what I see." The advisor hesitated, but Ziriel's tone left no room for argument. The humans were invited to the palace for a cultural exchange. Over the next several days, humans demonstrated their music, stories, games, and strategies. Princess Ziriel watched closely. She noticed how humans communicated openly, how they shared knowledge freely, and how they valued the opinion of every individual. "The humans are extraordinary," Ziriel said quietly to Aaron during one demonstration. "Even the simplest things they do carry meaning, purpose, and care. They inspire, not through power, but through intelligence and emotion." Aaron smiled politely. "Princess, that is because humans survive not only by strength, but by understanding each other. Cooperation, empathy, and trust are as important as any weapon or technology." Ziriel nodded, thinking about her own court. Strength and hierarchy ruled most alien societies. But humans showed her another way that could unite people, not through fear, but through respect and choice. After the exchange, the princess asked Aaron to join her in a quiet chamber. The stars shone beyond the transparent walls. But her attention was fully on the human before her. "I wish to understand even more," she said. "Tell me about human relationships, about trust, partnership, and love." Aaron hesitated slightly. He was careful not to cross boundaries, but he saw the princess's genuine curiosity. Humans form bonds based on honesty, respect, and choice. Love is not simply emotion, it is commitment, care, and shared effort. It is a bond that requires patience, understanding, and courage. Ziriel's violet eyes widened. "So, love is more than instinct. It is more than biology?" "Yes," Aaron replied. "Humans experience attraction, but true connection goes beyond that. It is about understanding, supporting, and respecting each other. Bonds are built over time, with trust as their foundation." The princess considered this. She had studied countless species. Many relied on instinct, strength, or tradition. Humans relied on choice, thought, and heart. It was a kind of strength she had never fully understood, yet it fascinated her. "Lieutenant Aaron," she said softly, "you have shown me more than any scholar ever could. Humans, they are remarkable. Their ways are difficult to predict, yet they endure and thrive. And they care." Aaron inclined his head. "Humans survive because they are resilient, clever, and cooperative. They care, and that care makes them strong in ways others might not expect." The princess remained silent for a moment, thinking about the human gatherings she had observed. Laughter, encouragement, shared stories, and small gestures seemed ordinary, yet they carried great meaning. Humans were small in size, but immense in influence. They could change situations with intelligence and compassion. They could survive worlds that seemed impossible to endure. I never imagined a species could be so balanced, Ziriel admitted. Strong, yet gentle. Brave, yet caring. Intelligent, yet understanding. Your people are unlike any I have studied, Aaron smiled humbly. Princess, humans are not perfect. But we try, and sometimes that effort is enough to overcome challenges. Our choices, cooperation, and bonds help us survive, even inspire others. Ziriel leaned back, her mind racing. She realized that humans were not just an interesting species, they were a source of lessons that could change her own people. If her court adopted even a fraction of these principles, they could build a society stronger, wiser, and fairer than any she had known. Days passed. The cultural exchange continued. Ziriel observed human interactions with increasing fascination. She saw their adaptability, how they learned quickly from mistakes, and how they celebrated even small victories. She noticed how humans helped each other without expectation of reward, how they valued individuality and yet cooperated for the common good. Her admiration grew, and with it, her respect for Aaron. He had not only taught her about humans, but had done so with patience, honesty, and humility. No human she had met had demanded respect or recognition, yet their actions and words had earned it effortlessly. One evening, Ziriel invited Aaron to the palace garden, a quiet place with soft glowing plants and gentle streams. She wanted to ask more personal questions, to understand how humans truly connected in practice, not just in theory. Aaron, she said quietly, I wish to know how humans form bonds in real life, how they maintain them, how they trust, love, and support one another. Aaron looked at her calmly. Humans communicate openly. They share experiences, listen to each other, and help in times of need. Trust is built through honesty and consistent action. Support is offered freely, and care is shown in many ways, sometimes significant. All of this strengthens bonds over time. Ziriel considered this. Her society often relied on hierarchy, obedience, and protocol. Humans relied on choice, effort, and understanding. Their strength was not in dominance, but in cooperation and empathy, and these bonds. They influence your people? She asked softly. Aaron nodded. Yes, humans achieve incredible things through these bonds. They survive dangerous worlds, face impossible odds, and create societies that endure. Cooperation, respect, and care give humans power beyond size or strength. The princess's mind wandered. She imagined applying these lessons to her court. Empathy, trust, and understanding could reshape her people. They could value connection over fear, cooperation over hierarchy. Humans had shown her a path she had never considered. Finally, Ziriel spoke, her voice almost a whisper. Aaron, your people are extraordinary. You have not only taught me about humans, you have taught me about strength, choice, and the power of connection. I admire them. And you? Aaron looked at her with humility. Princess, humans are admirable because of their effort, their courage, and their care. But admiration works both ways. You have shown curiosity, intelligence, and an open mind. That is rare, and it inspires humans as much as they inspire you. Ziriel's violet eyes softened. She realized that understanding humans was more than study, it was connection. She had begun to see humanity not just as a species to observe, but as a force that could teach, inspire, and transform. In the quiet of the garden, Ziriel felt a deep sense of clarity. Humans were not only biologically unique, they had moral strength, emotional depth, and the ability to influence even the most advanced societies. Their power was subtle, yet immense. Perhaps, she whispered to herself, humans are what we all could aspire to. Be strong, thoughtful, and compassionate. Aaron watched her silently. Knowing the princess had reached a revelation, humans had left their mark, not through force, but through intellect, empathy, and courage. The lesson was clear. True power lay not in dominance, but in connection, understanding, and choice. Ziriel finally smiled, a rare and genuine expression. She had begun to understand humans, and through them, she had begun to see new possibilities for herself, her court, and her people. The story of her fascination and the bond between human and princess was only beginning. But one truth was certain. Humans had entered her life, not with weapons or conquest, but with honesty, intelligence. In Heartand, they had left her speechless, inspired, and forever changed. For Princess Ziriel, humanity was no longer just a species to study. They were a model of resilience, wisdom, connection, a lesson for all who sought true strength. And in the quiet of her palace, under the glow of distant stars, she whispered one final thought. Humans, you are truly remarkable. The sun dipped low over Lethera, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. Princess Ziriel sat quietly in her private chamber, her thoughts still on Lieutenant Aaron and the lessons he had shared about humans. She had spent days observing his species, learning about their bonds, their courage, and their unique way of surviving against all odds. Every lesson left her more curious and more impressed. Her advisors had noticed a change in her behavior. Ziriel was more thoughtful, more reflective, and increasingly focused on understanding rather than just ruling. She spends too much time on these human ideas, one advisor whispered to another. It is distracting, and it is dangerous. Her mind is drifting from royal duty. But Ziriel paid little attention. She had realized something important. Understanding humans could benefit her people. They were not only biologically different, they carried wisdom, empathy, and resilience that could inspire her own court. She decided to take the next step. She would introduce humans more fully to her world, arrange for a cultural exchange. She told her head advisor, I want our people to meet humans, to see how they think, live, and connect. I want them to understand what I have seen. The advisor hesitated but nodded. The princess's tone allowed no argument. Soon, humans from the envoy were invited to the palace to share their music, art, games, and stories. The day of the exchange, the palace's great hall buzzed with curiosity and excitement. Alien nobles watched the humans with a mixture of skepticism and interest. Aaron guided Ziriel through the crowd. Princess, this is the best way to understand humans, Aaron explained. Observe their behavior, notice how they communicate, and watch how they support each other. Ziriel's violet eyes moved across the humans. She noticed how they helped one another without expectation. A young human offered his place to an elder, and another shared tools freely with someone learning to use them. Laughter filled the hall, not forced, but genuine. They cooperate in ways that seem simple, yet powerful, Ziriel said quietly. Even small actions carry meaning and create bonds. Aaron nodded. Yes. Humans build trust through simple acts and consistency. That trust allows them to survive and thrive even in dangerous situations. It is not physical strength, but cooperation and care that give them power. The princess thought about her own court. Much of her people's strength relied on hierarchy, protocol, and obedience. Humans showed her another path: respect, choice. And understanding could create a stronger and more united society. During a demonstration, humans shared a story about their home planet, about challenges they'd overcome together, and about victories won through teamwork rather than force. The aliens in the audience were impressed, but Ziriel was deeply moved. She had seen humans survive extreme conditions, adapt to unexpected dangers, and still maintain care and respect for one another. After the demonstration, Ziriel invited Aaron to the palace garden. The garden was filled with soft glowing plants and gentle streams, a quiet space away from the crowds. She wanted to ask more personal questions. To understand human relationships more deeply, Aaron, she said, her voice soft. I wish to know more about human bonds, about how trust, partnership, and love truly work among your people." Aaron took a moment, considering his words carefully. "Princess, humans form bonds through choice and respect. They communicate openly, share experiences, and support one another. Trust grows through honesty and consistent action. Bonds are strengthened over time by care, patience, and understanding." Ziriel listened intently, absorbing every word. "So these bonds, they are not instinctual? They are built consciously." "Exactly," Aaron replied. "Humans are aware of their actions and choices. They think about how they treat others, how they maintain connections, and how they can grow together. That awareness makes their bonds strong." The princess thought about the human gatherings she had observed. Every smile, every small gesture, every shared story contributed to relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. She realized that humans combined intelligence, emotion, courage, in ways her people rarely practiced. "And these bonds," she asked, "they affect your survival, your strength as a species?" Aaron nodded. "Yes. Humans survive not because they are the strongest or fastest. They survive because they cooperate, support each other, and adapt to challenges. Their connections allow them to endure situations that might destroy other species." Ziriel's mind raced. Humans were small, fragile, and seemingly ordinary in appearance, but their way of life created immense strength. Their bonds made them resilient. Their respect for each other made them capable of facing the impossible. "You have shown me more than any scholar or ambassador ever could," she said quietly. "Humans, they are extraordinary. And you, Aaron, you have guided me to understand this truth." Aaron inclined his head humbly. "Princess, humans are not perfect, but our strength comes from effort, care, and courage. We survive by being ourselves. That is what makes us remarkable." Ziriel's violet eyes softened. She realized that humans were not only biologically unique, but morally and emotionally inspiring. They had taught her something her entire life in a few days. True strength came from connection, choice, and care, not just power or dominance. Days passed, and the cultural exchange continued. Ziriel observed humans helping one another, sharing knowledge, celebrating victories, and learning from mistakes. She noticed how they encouraged each other, listened, and solved problems together. Her admiration grew, and so did her respect for Aaron. He had not only explained humans to her, but had done so with patience, humility, and honesty. No human had demanded her attention or respect, yet his words and actions had earned both effortlessly. One evening, as the sun set and the stars appeared in the sky, Ziriel walked with Aaron along the palace's terrace. The gentle glow of the city below contrasted with the vast universe above. She asked the question that had been in her mind since the first lesson. "Aaron," she said softly, "what makes humans capable of these bonds? What gives them the courage to trust, care, and support each other?" Aaron paused. "Princess, humans are aware of their own limitations and the dangers around them. They know they can fail, but they choose to act anyway. Courage, honesty, empathy, and patience are the tools they use to build trust. Each individual contributes, and that combined effort creates resilience beyond what any single person could achieve." Ziriel reflected on his words. Her people relied on hierarchy, tradition, and control. Humans relied on choice, effort, and cooperation. Their power was subtle, yet it was formidable. "Admire humans," she whispered. "I admire how they survive, how they care, and how they build strength without dominance. And I admire you, Aaron, for showing me this." Aaron's expression remained humble. "Princess, admiration is mutual. You have approached humans with curiosity, openness, and respect. That is rare among rulers. Your understanding inspires us as much as our actions inspire you." Ziriel's heart stirred with a feeling she had not expected. She had come to learn about a species, but she had also come to respect and appreciate the human who had guided her. In that moment, she understood that true strength came from connection, intelligence, and heart, The cultural exchange ended, but its lessons stayed with her. She realized that humans could influence not only individuals but entire societies. By showing care, courage, and understanding, they could teach even the most advanced civilizations about true strength in the quiet of her palace. Princess Ziriel looked at the stars and whispered, "Humans, you are truly remarkable." Aaron, standing beside her, nodded quietly. He understood that the princess had reached a revelation. Humans had made their mark not through weapons or conquest, but through honesty, intelligence, and heart. The bond between human and princess, built on curiosity, respect, and understanding, was now stronger than ever. For Ziriel, humanity was no longer just a subject of study, it was a model of courage, empathy, and wisdom. And she knew that these lessons would guide her and her people for generations to come. As the night settled over Lethera, the princess smiled softly. She had learned that strength came in many forms, and humans had shown her one of the most powerful: connection, choice, and care. For the first time, she felt certain of something. Humanity was not only capable of surviving the galaxy, they were capable of inspiring it. And with that thought, Princess Ziriel turned to the human beside her and said, "Aaron, thank you. You and your people have changed the way I see the universe." Aaron smiled, quietly proud. "Princess, humans are remarkable, but so is curiosity and understanding. You have shown both in abundance. That is why you will carry our lessons forward." The stars above twinkled silently, as if in agreement. Two worlds had connected, not through power, conquest, or authority, but through honesty, empathy, and respect. And the universe, vast and unknowable, had quietly witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary.